Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of our first podcasts. Today, I'm here with Alex. He's a colleague of mine from the university. Hi.
Hi, Razwan, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. I think you are like one of the best people I know to talk this subject to. So, what we are gonna talk about actually today is education, and we'll try to make a comparison and give our own opinion because, like, this is a very how to put it, very controversial topic, or if you have another description for this. But like it really depends. So we'll try to make a comparison between formal education and self-taught developer. So
Yeah.
first of all, let's start with introducing yourself and tell us a little about you, what you like doing, and things like that.
Okay, so my name is Alex. I'm your colleague from university.
Ex-colleague,
Um,
actually now.
Ex-colleague, yeah,
Yeah,
because we can't say we're students anymore because we've practically
yeah. We
finished
are we
university.
graduated like a few
Yeah, so
days, weeks.
it's
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, and so I'm not a student anymore. Um, I'm right now working on some personal projects. I like web development and I'm kind of a full stack developer.
yeah.
Mm, for hobbies, I like to play piano, to go for runs, stuff like that, all kinds of
Yeah,
sports.
I tried playing guitar a few
Yeah,
years ago, but it didn't
yeah,
work
it's
out.
pretty nice to have something else than programming to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into programming in the first place?
The first time I encountered programming was in the 10th grade. I had a programming course at my high school, but I wasn't so passionate about it. And I've got some particular lessons from a guy who was a student at the same university we finished, and the way he taught the subject was very interesting. And I think the first thing that I did was made a tic-tac-toe game in C++ because this was the language that we used
Yeah.
and at the high school. And then I started going on contests with embedded programming, stuff like Arduino
Nice,
uh,
nice.
and
Yeah.
microcontrollers. And then I shifted a little bit I mean, a lot, to web development because this is what I'm
Yeah.
doing right now as well as you.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
we actually went to some hackathons together. I think quite a few, and
yeah,
yeah, we
yeah.
we except one, I think that was like 2 3 years ago. We won all of them. So uh, yeah,
Yeah. At least a place in the first three.
yeah. But I think we won the first place in all of them, if I don't mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say
Yeah,
that.
I think so. Okay, so now what do you think, how do you like how important do you think is formal education, like school and university, for a developer?
My personal opinion is that every good programmer needs to have some kind of formal education, whether it's from university or from, I don't know, separate courses, where you learn kind of the core core things about
Yeah, the basics.
how to write good code. Um, I mean, it's not really necessary to go to university to, I don't know, make websites, for instance, because you can learn that very easily
Yeah.
on YouTube and all kind of places. But I think it's important for making things that are more complicated. So if you want to do more than to do apps or demo apps, you have to think it in another way. You have to know the basics of how to write better code, so to say.
Yeah, I think a lot of fresh programmers jump into learning like frameworks without learning the language behind it, and or learn
Yeah.
certain libraries without see how they work and things like that. And a lot of times the result of that is a lot of bugs and problems they can solve, and problems, maybe problems they don't even know there are there in the first place. So yeah, I think you're right, and university is like a frame for a frame for what you learn in the future, because like university is 3-4 years, and your journey will probably be around I don't know, a lot more than that.
20 plus years. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and like that's just the beginning, and it's one piece of the puzzle. So do you think like formal education is more important for an employee rather than a freelancer? A lot of companies, especially big ones like corporations, they put a lot of accent on the degree itself. They sometimes don't even bother see what you really know, and part of that is that they probably hire a lot, and they can't afford uh, taking the time with each candidate and see what they really know. So they trust, let's say, the degree you are getting from your university. That's like a check that you have
Like a
certain
label.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to my question, you think is equally important for an employee and a freelancer to have a degree?
I think I don't really know what a recruiter wants to see, but from what I've learned in these years in university of and all my interviews
Yeah.
that I gave is that sure, formal education is important, but if you have so many people from the same university, you need to have something else that could differentiate them. And
Yeah.
here comes the
Yeah,
side project thing.
for
Yeah,
sure. It really depends. Like the this process, this recruiting process, it's very different from company to company, and some of
yeah.
them, they just look at your GitHub and they don't bother looking at your degree. Some look only at your degree. Some are
I
somewhere in
think
the middle, and
it
yeah.
depends really on the position. If you have to be a full stack, or if you have to do more things than just write code for something, uh, then I think they will be more open to see your side projects or your personal projects that give you the credibility that you'll be good at that job. But
Yeah.
if it's a position that you can do just with a formal education, I don't think they will. bother a lot. It really depends on the employee,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah. So like being a programmer, it's more than just code, and actually a lot of programmers complain that they spend more time in meetings rather than actual coding. So what other skills do you think a programmer needs besides like coding and programming languages and things like that? Maybe like social skills more.
Yeah, I think I won't generalize how programmers are or things like that, but I see it in myself that being alone with your code and getting somehow romantic with it, so to say, makes you a
Yeah,
little bit um, restrictive to opinions from the outside. So I think a good skill to have is the skill of listening
yeah,
to.
and getting feedback and
Yeah, the feedback,
yeah,
it's very important, and
yeah,
I think it's very important because at the end of the day, you're doing something, you're creating something for your end users, and
yeah,
if you get
yeah,
feedback from your end users that says, oh, I don't know, the button here it's kind of big, or it doesn't show at all, or things like that, I think you have to take into consideration every aspect of the feedback, even if it's delivered in such a way that it's insulting your ego, so to
yeah,
say.
yeah. That's like a program at the beginning, or for a lot of people that they kind of get I don't know, aggressive, or not aggressive like they'll punch you, but like
Yeah,
they get angry or upset or things like that when like the feedback, it's not something like oh, it's great, it's very good, or like if the feedback it's negative. And I think like that's the best feedback, because uh,
yeah,
that's like saying okay, you have some issues and you need to fix them or things like that. So uh and also because like most of the feedback it's negative, because usually people that are happy with your app aren't going to call you and say hey, the app is working great, but rather people that are having problems will call you and say oh, this is not working, or
yeah.
uh,
It's better to make
yeah,
things good from the start and to listen to take in all
yeah,
the
yeah, it's very
feedback
important
and
to listen.
criticism. Then you'll be more free to work on features and stuff that will make the product better.
Yeah, yeah, and this is very important, like for the long run. And if you're going to get into freelancing or starting your own app or things like that, because as an employee, I think mm, it's like okay, you have to do that and that and that, but you are not actually talking to a client, or if you're just a developer and you have
Yeah,
nothing to do with the product. But uh, if you are a freelancer, or you work on your own projects or things like that, I think it's one I, maybe the most important actually thing, that to have in mind that you are not doing the app for yourself, because
yeah. It's easy to
maybe
get. Yeah,
yeah, it's not for yourself, and not you have to like it, but the people that are actually using it have to like it, and have to help them, because
yeah,
that's why you are making it. So yeah, getting feedback regularly, it's a very important thing, and most people forget it, and like at most get some feedback at the beginning, and after that they don't bother, or they get insulted by the negative feedback, and
Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
tempting to think that if someone gives you bad feedback, that they have something that they don't like about you, or it's very important to have a
Yeah,
clear
yeah,
vision
you think they
of
are
the
just
vision.
hating and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, doing hate speech. But uh
yeah.
yeah,
Some people
yeah, yeah,
are
for sure.
hating,
For sure,
but
for sure.
clearly not the
Yeah, yeah, for
majority.
sure. A lot of people are just like commenting without a reason or without like saying actual things that they don't like, and they are just hating. It's very easy to see like hate speech or things like that and like negative feedback, because negative feedback has something to do and like tells you something that you've done wrong with your app, product, vlog and things like that. But hate speech has nothing to do with your product or your thing at all, and they're probably like uh, I don't know, you're making a vlog and they say, oh, I don't like your nose or things like that. Or
Yeah, I don't think this happens a lot in teams of programmers, but I don't know. Maybe in something like, I don't know, YouTube or a product
yeah,
that you
yeah.
made, and people reply pretty bad to it. But yeah, the haters will always come. You'll always see the haters, even though they are a
Yeah,
minority. So yeah,
yeah, the
that's
important thing is like to differentiate the hate speech from the like negative feedback that you really need to improve. Like you have to make a decision. uh you have to admit that your product or what you're building is not for 100% of the population. You will never please everyone, and that's like something you should you should realize sooner or later. So you have to like make a decision where you are going to draw the line, and what things you are going to take into consideration and improve, and what things like you won't bother doing. So yeah, that's like a line that you have to draw, and you you have to see like what things bother like the most people, and yeah.
yeah. You have to make a clear vision of all of the feedback given.
Yeah, so let's move a little back to our subject like education, and uh, let's talk about something that bothered me a little in university, and that's the fact that it was and that's my opinion, it was more focused on making you an employee rather than showing you other paths like freelancing or I don't know, starting your own app
Yeah,
or things like that. So I think like they should introduce something, because a lot of and that's a thing that I've seen, a lot of programmers with great knowledge, great experience, great all they lack the other skills required for like building an actual product, like all the things like marketing and like not marketing and that, but rather the social part, communicating, socializing, networking and things like that. And I think, and that's for sure, only programming it's not enough for making a business or making an
yeah.
app, or yeah, that's like,
Unfortunately, not. Yeah.
yeah, that's like a small part, because uh like everyone can hire a programmer at the end of the day. So it's not the
True.
actual code that matters, it's the process, the making the app, making the user experience, marketing, networking, feedback, a lot of things in this process. And I think university uh should approach like kind of this side also, because like in all 3 years that we made, we only learned programming. And so with only programming, the only thing you can do, I think, it's like go and work for a company, because you can't make other things with just programming. So yeah, that's a thing that like bothered me a little, because I think there are a lot of good programmers that fail with their apps, and I've seen that they fail with their apps because they lack a lot of other skills besides programming. They are very good at programming, but that's not enough for launching an app, a product, and be successful. So yeah, what do you think about like this social part?
Yeah, I partially agree with you that the university doesn't really prepare you for owning a business or I don't know, working as a freelancer, full stack or things like that. Mainly because I think university is just meant to be like a foundation. This is how I see it. I see it like a place where you discover subjects. So, I mean, some of our subjects in university, I didn't know about them before working for with them. Like I don't know, I never wrote Haskell
Or
before the
assembly, or
yeah, or assembly
yeah,
or
yeah,
things like that. But there are people that will use this technology
yeah,
and
for sure.
can get passionate about them if they try it in a formal environment where they are assisted and where they can get all the help they want. Because if you go on YouTube and search for a subject, you may find some videos, you may not, but in university there is always a professor which you can email anytime or you can talk with him directly. And I think the subject at university are very good for, as I said, discover what programming really is, and then you can go from that and build on top of it by
Yeah,
developing your own through tutorials, through books,
yeah.
through
Problem
things like
with
that.
like online resources is that you have to filter them, and
Of course, yeah.
for some people that's a problem, especially if you are a beginner and like you don't know what's right and what's wrong. And uh, that's a problem with online things, because everyone can
Yes.
put
Yeah.
content out there, and if it's
Yeah,
not
so
yeah,
here is where university help you because
yeah,
you know the content is pretty good. It's curated by professors that have taught that subject for many years. So you know, even if it's not really broad, you know it's right.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I think it's important to have a formal education. It's not mandatory, but I think it's very helpful.
yeah. One thing that like I would change about the actual system, and I think
Hmm.
that's like pretty not much, but like a little different from country to country. I mean, country near us, like I don't talk about I don't know, more poor countries, or where education is really a problem. But I think that the information is like pretty outdated, and especially in our field, where uh, I don't know, every month will appear a new framework, a new, I don't know, and a lot of new languages and technologies and things like that. Um, I think that it should be treated a little different. and updated more often, and things that are taught in school and in universities like uh, should be updated more often
Yeah,
with new
yeah, it's
with new
true.
technologies, because like the thinking behind the programming, and that's a very important thing to develop over the years, how you think and how you think your code, and uh, that is pretty much the same. I mean, it doesn't matter if you
Yeah,
code in I don't know, PHP or in JavaScript, because like the thinking behind is the same. But uh, like the language is just a tool, but how you use that tool is your business. But uh, the technologies and like the tools should be updated more often in university, and I think the what we learn now was learned 10 years ago, and a lot more than 10 years ago. So
yeah, okay,
yeah,
it's true.
that's like a thing that I would change in university. So uh like what's your thing what's your thing that that you would want to change in or maybe add
Uh,
something, not necessary change, or something that you wanted to learn and you didn't, or I don't know.
yeah, I think it's a pretty valid point what you said with the updated technologies, because even if you are meant to understand the concepts, it's pretty useful to know when you get out of university how to create a web app or a
Yeah.
mobile app that you can still make in 2020.
Yeah, so I think like that was it. To sum everything up, from my point of view, uh, I think school is important uh, for most of people. For sure, there are people that could be a waste of time, and I mean that. Uh, let's take, I don't know, Bill Gates for example. Uh, he thought that Microsoft was more important, like building Microsoft was more important than university. So looking back now, he was right. But
Yeah, for sure.
like you don't you can't know that. You can see the future for sure, and like that's a decision you have to make, and taking into consideration like your goals and what you want to achieve. If you think that, I don't know, 3 years of your life you could do more important things, then you should probably go and do that thing. But if you think that on the long run it will help, and it will help achieve your goals, then you should go ahead and go to university, and I don't know, even go and get your PhD if that's your thing.
Yeah,
So
it really depends on your on what you want to do later, because
yeah.
the formal education gives you a lot of insights that tutorials and YouTube can't give you. Um, but yeah, it really depends on what you want to do, and if you want to do your university, your master degree, your PhD, and I don't know, work for a big company, I think it's great. You can have a great salary. You can be very fulfilled with that. But if you want to do anything else, like start your own company, and which is uh, more riskier than going for a job, I think you can do that too. But university, it's really a foundation. So
Yeah.
I won't skip it if you
Yeah,
were
I mean
to ask me.
it also depends on like the field of your company, because if you do
Yeah,
web development, yeah, you probably won't need a PhD. But if you are into like researching and things like that. I mean, more technical, advanced stuff. I think like having a PhD.
But yeah,
Yeah,
whatever makes you happy.
yeah.
I don't know.
At the end of the day, yeah. So that was it with this podcast. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, you can DM me. My Instagram is down in the description. And until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, because all of this is a journey, and you'll build your knowledge and your experience only by practicing, trying new things, failing, and so on. So you can also check my resources on YouTube and Instagram for more programming tips, tricks, tutorials, and all of this good stuff. So yeah, see you next time.